Hello, everybody. I'm George Gonzalez, and I'm here because I want to help you. Uh, that way, you know how to finish your games faster. Okay, so that's why we're here. That's why you probably clicked. It's because hopefully you're probably a game developer and you're trying to get your game finished. Okay, so let's get started. I want to know a little bit about you. A lot of I've actually Googled and you looked through YouTube for how to finish a game and trying to see what others have published out there. And I realized that most of the times, all the there's different scenarios for uh, game devs, and you might be in a different engine and a different platform. And so I want to ask you some questions. Do you do game dev as a hobby? Is that something that you are working on right now? You probably have a 9 to 5, and you get home, you're tired, and you maybe eat some dinner with family or some friends, roommates, and then on the extra time you have, you try to create the game that you envision, right? Or something on the side that you want to do. Um, so, how many tutorials and courses have you watched? How much money have you invested into development courses? Um, I know that I have. Um, I've invested a few because I was looking around to see what others have done to help other developers finish games, right? And I've seen some really smart teachers on YouTube and on courses, and I've paid money, and sometimes those courses end up either obsolete or they don't finish. Uh, and some of the things that I was looking for were things like, okay, when I publish a game, for example, if I'm making a multiplayer game, what happens when I launch, right? And we have 1,000 players. There's a difference in debugging game projects where you have thousands of players joining at once versus testing, with 2 or 4 people locally. And so, how do you deal with that? How do you budget bandwidth, right? Over the network? How do you know how much you're spending, or how to, cut costs so that you don't spend so much on bandwidth? Because your CPU usage is out the roof, and they just don't talk about stuff that requires experience. And so that's one of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel and other things. But how many projects have you published due to those courses? So you probably spent a couple bucks in Humble Bundles, other dev tools in Unity or Unreal or Godot. You watched a lot of YouTube videos, spent a lot of time, and whether there's free courses or paid courses, how much have you spent, and then how many games have you published thanks to those courses? Uh, do you have a publishing deadline for your current game that you're working on right now? And how far out is that deadline? Um, so some things to think about in retrospect, because I've been in all these scenarios on my own. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and what I do. So I get paid to create and publish games. That's what I do. That's my 9 to 5. I pushed in the last 3 years, close to 3 years. I pushed Sail VR, it's a VR game, single player to App Lab, and then later. And so I'm not working on the multiplayer version currently, but I've helped launch the single player version. Then I worked on Monkey Do. I used to be Monkey See, Monkey Doo Doo VR title, and it's on the Meta Store. Before App Lab went and merged with Meta Store, back when there was that division and no one knew what the secret sauce is for getting into the Meta Store, right? Everyone's like wondering, like, how do you do it? There's no path. It's just numbers, and you just guess and hope that Meta sees your game. Well, I figured it out. we figured it out with a team for Monkey Doodle. So I have that experience. I dealt with the QA team that helped our QA the VRC checks for our game. And even though the App Lab is now on the Meta Store, it doesn't mean that it automatically bridges the gap. You still have to wait in line for someone to check your VRCs and then get back to you. Now there's less hand holding. And so how do you know what VRC checks? So those are the things. I'm a VR game developer. And now I'm working on Cactus Jam. It's another VR game, and that's on beta, recently launched on beta on App Lab. And we're going to do the same thing even better and faster than Monkey do. I'm a VR game developer, and as I've done mobile apps. I worked on Test Flight. I dealt with the Apple Store, Google Play. Monkey Doodle went to Steam, so we've done cross-platform. I've done WebGL, but I feel like working in VR has been a huge challenge, and I think it makes developing for mobile and PC a lot easier because I don't have to deal with all that over the network also. So multiplayer and VR, two huge roadblocks. And I've learned all the in-app purchase, subscription stuff with Steam and Meta. I've done it. I've done the back end with PlayFab, worked on Photon Fusion, Fusion 1, Fusion 2. So I have some experience. Right? So that's why I'm here, is because I want to help people finish their games based on experience. When I was working on Monkey Do, I was trying to find information on how to finish products and how, like, Fusion didn't have many YouTube videos, and the YouTube videos that were out there were just people starting out because it was so new. But even the same with Meta, like, no one is teaching you how to do in-app purchases, or like there's only one video. If you look up now, it's just one from like 6 years ago. And so there's a lot of information that's missing out there. And also, when I've looked on YouTube for finishing games, a lot of the feedback or a lot of the lessons come from people that don't have the experience. Or, like, for example, some things I've heard is I failed multiple times, so I know what not to do. And so I know how to make a game, right? I mean, there's billions of ways of failing. And so I don't believe that's the best way to teach. It's like, there were also, and they all come from good places. I believe they meant what they said. There's also like tips or things I wish I knew when I started my game, and they're just tips, right? Like, oh, do this, don't do that, don't build your dream game, things we've all heard. But the thing is, with these courses, they don't help you finish your game. They help you with tech skills, will help you with some kind of principles that'll kind of get you out of the hole or save you some time, but they don't point you in the right direction to actually finish. Okay. What do you know about launching a game? So that's my question to you. How many games have you published? If you published a game, leave a comment with a link. That is totally fine. We want to see people out there that have the experience that, I guess if you want to count itch.io, it's like, do you make money off itch.io? Do you do in-app purchases? What's your monetization for itch.io? Where would you like to be at? What is your goal with game dev? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay, so I'm just going to tell you straight up, this is how it is. This is what I believe in, and this is what I teach now. I'm going to focus on this because I believe these two principles will help you. And I'm going to show it how, not in this video, but I will in my YouTube channels. That's all I'm going to do, is show how these principles help you finish. And I can help you to do the same. Okay, so the first one is making a game is the same as running a business. If you don't treat it like a business, then it doesn't matter whether, like, what you call it, but in reality, that's what you're doing. Is you have a product, that you're trying to sell to people. And if you want to give it out for free, you can, non-profit, right? What if you don't want to run a business? You just want to make games for fun? Then you can do that, right? Like, but even if you are making them for fun, you want to finish. You're trying to get something out to either express yourself or have someone else experience what you just built, right? Like making a cake. You can make a cake for free and give it to your neighbor. You can give a cake for a birthday, right? Um, and so even if you want to do it as a hobby, making a game is a business. You're building a product and you're giving it to somebody. Uh, and so it has value, and that value depends on you. You're the owner. Um, and so that's my main point, is that when you start running your game as a business, you start thinking about the time you spent on it, how you spend it, how to make it better. And just because you do run it like a business doesn't mean that it loses all the good stuff. Uh, a lot of times business, it makes it sound like corporation, right? That your game is corporation. It doesn't have a heart. But that's not true. Um, I want to talk about, and I'm going to show you, in a week from today, I'm going to launch a live stream where I'll show you how I do this. I use these principles, and I'm going to make a game, multiplayer game in VR with monetization and a back end, and launch it on alpha on the Metastore in one sitting. I'm going to do it live. Okay. So I'll do that to show, because I'm more of a show me rather than just talk to me, right? But YouTube is a way that I can get this information out and other people can see it at their own time. But I want to show people. I'm not big on speeches. I suck at the public thing. You'll notice I stutter a lot. I I do a lot of pauses and stuff because I'm thinking. And that's just who I am. But I want to share this information with you because I feel really strong about this, and I want to help other people, other developers finish their game. Okay, and the second thing is what I'm going to do this week. Game dev ROI. Basically, is what is your return on investment? And what I mean by ROI is means that, like, how are you spending your time, right? A lot of times because you're working on the side and you're not getting paid, you think, oh well, it's just free, so there's no loss, right? But your time is valuable. So how much do you value your time? What is your time worth? If someone asked you to make a game, how much would you charge them? How much would you like to get paid, right? If you're to work in a game, and let's say I hired you to work 90 hours, $90 an hour to build a game for me or for anyone. If you worked for yourself, $90 an hour, and you're able to pay yourself that, how would your work ethic be? How would you spend that hour, right? And are you worth that $90 an hour or whatever money value? If you want to pay yourself $200 an hour, you can. But that is, so when you're not getting paid, it's like, think about the hour spent. How is that a return on investment? Are you using that time wisely? And so, and the other thing is like, how can you make it more worth it, right? And that's what I'm going to do this week. Every day this week on YouTube, on this channel, I'm going to show at least one video a day. I'm going to show 5 minutes, probably just a little bit, of how I do this. One way I do it is by saving certain scripts that I know I'm going to reuse a lot, and structuring my folders a different way in Unity so that I can reuse assets. And so what I'm going to do this week is show this, how I make sure that when I make a script, or I'm going to work on just these tidbits because I already know I'm going to use it. So Saturday, I'm going to do a live stream, and I need to be ready for that. And so how I'm going to spend my time every day is by making scripts and things that I already know I need and that I'm going to use then, and then I'm going to use forever to make games. So login information, backend to PlayFab, in-app purchase, subscriptions, like a generic way of designing these things so I can reuse them. And I'm going to put it on YouTube. And then on Saturday, I'm going to use them to speed up my workflow. And so that's a return on investment because it saves me time in the long run. And I already have a few of these scripts, but I need to go in and polish them more, right? So I'm going to do more of that. But you can do the same. And it doesn't have to be like I'm doing VR, but you can do the same with Android login. It's the same every time. And so think about that, like how do you not only become more productive now, but in the future, right? What are you learning now that you should be either documenting or copy pasting so that you don't have to do it again, right? A lot of times people use ChatGPT or AI IDEs to gain right the workflow. So these are the two things: making a game the same as running a business, and that's what I do. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna help you now. So this is how I'm planning on living up to what I believe. I'm going to use YouTube to help developers. I'm going to launch all my knowledge basically like a journal, not a dev blog because it's very generic, but I'm going to structure it. I'm going to have it where everything is information on principles. The most important things that I believe are principles that don't expire or don't become obsolete over time. So these things are going to help you in the long run, 5-10 years from now. If you want to do game dev forever, these are like the foundation for what you need. Oh, and I'm going to move my head. I'm going to move my head here. So I'm going to use YouTube to help you. I'm going to launch I'm going to have 2 playlists at least. One is business principles for devs. And then I'm going to have a game dev ROI tips playlist. So if you want to say, I want to invest sometimes, that's what it is. And then also I'm going to have the live streams, and I'll have other miscellaneous stuff, like for example, things like for Steam and Meta, but they'll probably be like ROI things that are return on investments. But I'll show you how in-app purchases work on Steam and Meta, subscriptions on Meta. Steam subscription is kind of iffy, so they suggest not to do it. They don't support it as much. So anyways, yeah, that's how I plan to do, and it's all free. It's just I'm going to launch it out there. And then the other solution that I have, because I know that everyone's different, everyone's at different levels, I built a school community that will have weekly Q&As, prizes, rewards to help you finish your game, community milestone game jams. This is a new thing that we came up with the community. I was talking to them on a Q&A, and they said, let's do a game jam where we do the same thing together. So the game jam will be kind of like on a week. I'll do a live stream at the beginning of the week, and I'll teach a principle or something that we're going to work on. For example, so we're going to build a game in 6 weeks or 4 weeks, and it's going to be based on this. And then we're going to do in-app purchases this week, and I show them how to do it, and then everyone goes and does that for the week, and then we come back and I teach them. So I'll reveal the next thing we're going to work on, and everyone goes in and does it for their own game. And so we're all going to do the same principles, but then you can apply it however you want to your game for that game jam. But we're all kind of doing the same thing, so that way you can stay on track. So we're going to do those. The first one's going to be in January, and then we're going to help you. Everything in the course is to help you finish your game. Okay, so that's school. In school, we have a bunch of tools to help you, and you can post and you can comment on your game. We want to. There's accountability too, and all the course is step by step on what these principles are for the business principles, and how to add value to your game, and Q&A and testing and all these things. But the main thing, just before we start these questions that I want to share with you or ask you, is that finishing your game is the first milestone. Like, there's so much more out there after you start publishing your games, there's so much more to explore. There's so much fun out there developing. And so I'm very like, I don't know if sad is a word, but discouraged that a lot of developers are stuck finishing their game. And I hope you don't think that that's the end goal, because that's just the beginning. There's so much you can do once you start understanding how to make your games. And so imagine if you could build a prototype in a week, right? If you just wanted to get better making games and you made a prototype every week for a year, you would have 50 prototypes, and you'll be, I mean, you could do anything, right? And like that, or ROI, you could make a prototype to learn multiplayer, a prototype to learn how to bungee jump. I don't know, a multiplayer how to fly, a multiplayer, or a prototype to learn how to make clans or guilds. All kinds of things that you could learn per prototype, and you could just use the prototypes. Or if you wanted to launch a game, you could every 3 months or whatever the goal is. There's so much you could learn and do for your portfolio, for yourself. And even if I don't know what your plans are, but if your plan is to roll the dice and hope that one game pays for your lifetime of game dev, then what better way to do roll the dice and to roll it 100 times? Like just learn how to build games faster so that you can roll the dice more often. And especially in VR, technology is moving up so fast that you can't wait a year to build a game. That's too slow. So, what are you stuck with? And you can comment below if you have answers to these questions. If you have a video that you have not, like if you are looking for something on YouTube and you have not found it, comment below. Let me know. Let's talk about it. I might not address the issue straight, like what you're thinking, like the answer, but I'll ask you again. I'll ask you other questions, follow up to dig more at the problem, right? Because sometimes you're like, well, I want to make this specific door handle with this, and that. I was like, that's very specific. But my questions might come up broader as the bigger picture. It's like, why are you trying to get this door right? Or why are you trying to make this thing? Or why are you spending so much time on VFX? And then it's like, what is the goal? And if the goal is to launch, like, do you need to launch with this VFX? Maybe if you're like at the end, or if you're in post-production, but it's not really worth your time. Anyways, so what are you stuck with? What do you wish to know? What is stopping you from doing game dev full time? What's your plan to cross the bridge if you're not doing it full time or you're not getting paid for it? Do you want your game to pay for it? What is the plan? What is your end game goal for your game dev career? What do you see yourself retiring as? What do you want to do? I want to do game dev till the day I die, probably. And when I'm 80 or 90, I hope I can still code. And if not, and I have a bunch of money for retirement, I'll hire some people to do it and I'll be the game designer, right? That's my goal for the end. I just want to make games. I love it. I wish I had more hours on the day to just do this. That's why I just love it. And I want to get better and better so I can make all the games that I have in my head, right? I think you guys are all the same way. You have ideas. And honestly, you guys are way better devs than I am, probably. I'm a slow learner. I'm not as talented, but I'll tell you that in other videos and stuff when we dive deep into some of these principles. But I've learned that these principles are huge, because if I myself, like just some regular dude, is able to get a job as a game developer, then you guys can too. Or you can make games that make money, tons of money. And that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm iterating and iterating. If I wasn't here on YouTube, I'm still going to do the same thing I'm going to do regardless, right? I'm going to build games. I'll build another game this year. I'll build another game next year. And I'll continue to make games. And if anything, I'll try to build prototypes faster so I can get better and do more with game devs. But that's it. So thank you for taking the time if you stayed this long. But I really want to help you. I'm serious. Like, comment, let me know what you want. What are you looking for? Let's do it. Let's get together. Let's help you finish your games, whether it's you want to more on YouTube or if you want to go more personal at school. We're building a community and it's going to expand. So that price that's in there right now is not the price that it's always going to be at. So um, let's get eh, let's get going and let's build your game. Get to work. Yeah, comment below. We'll see you tomorrow.